I am a Chicagoan from La Villita by way of Michoacan, Mexico. And like most of the almost 1 million Chicagoans with Spanish surnames, I came from an ancestral indigenous land where my parents, abuelos y abuelas, and countless of my ancestors lived in harmony with the land. I can remember my earliest memories revolved around two things: my abuelo and I working the land for food, shelter, and water, going around tending livestock, to also our social activities revolving around our family, whether it was at the dinner table, and my community in celebrating our traditions out in the street with our community. During that time in my childhood, I felt loved, secure, and free. That changed when I came to the US. I became race conscious the moment I entered and crossed the border as I was smuggled in the back of a station wagon by a white Irish family. They seemed so out of place in the San Jacinto Valley, but their skin color made it possible for them to easily travel across the border back and forth. But my skin color caused me to be hidden like contraband underneath the station wagon. I'm also from the streets of Chicago, the southwest side. I grew up in 18th Street in Pilsen, which was full of panaderias, supermercados, churches, organizations like Casa Slan. That is where I learned to be Mexican, where I was able to live our traditions, our rituals with our family and our community. But it was also hard to live in the hood. I was exposed with so much violence as a young person. I experienced loss to murder, jail, and deportation. My family was also abused and exploited at their job, and we constantly faced fear of police abuse and deportation. This separation here in Chicago continued with my schooling, as it worked hard to separate me from my language, my family, my culture, and my neighborhood. First, it was with English immersion classes and then with magnet programs as I entered high school. That is where I learned that there was a hierarchy in our city and our society, where we are sorted and separated based on our language, our income, our neighborhood, and our skin color. It wasn't until I was exposed to extreme and overt racism at the University of Illinois in Champaign that I realized that there wasn't anything wrong with me, that I realized that the promise of the American dream for my community was a lie, that I realized that the university was not able to recognize my humanity by simply offering courses, hiring faculty, and providing funding for Latino students. That realization, that awakening started my healing journey. So when I returned home, I had to acknowledge the truth that as a Chicagoan, that we live in a system of apartheid. Many of us have lived this reality and see the life of young people that are dealing with that trauma of separation, displacement, and violence that we are exposed to because of where we live. That trauma is something that carries on for generations. And those of us that live in the South Side, the West Side, or the Southwest Side know that we cannot get adequate medical care for miles. Know that citizen services do not come to us. Know that we cannot get a quality education. Know that regardless of what job we have, we're not able to provide for our families. We also know that there are blocks in our neighborhoods where the state pays millions of dollars to lock people up, that they relocate companies there to pollute our air, that they take advantage of where we are in the city, and that it's easier to get a gun than to have a living wage job. And we need to face the truth that Black and Brown people are intentionally and by design segregated, marginalized, and oppressed. So we do not have access to the incredible wealth that our city has and to the limitless opportunities that we're entitled to. We know that those opportunities are controlled by the elite of the city who make billions of dollars of the resources of our city, including ourselves. I could point to the research of the social determinants of health. I could point to all of the outcomes that we see, but we know that if you're a Black or brown person, you are going to have less than $1 million of assets than if you're a white Chicagoan. That you're going to live 10 to 20 years less than a white Chicagoan. That even if you have a college degree, you will make less than a white high school graduate in Chicago. So we need to make sure that in order for us to heal, we must place the Black and Latino community at the center of the transformation that our city needs. We know there's much wealth in our region. We know that this is an area for corporate investment, national infrastructure, and natural resources. And we need a commitment to systematic change and real financial commitment in repairing the harm that the Chicago way has caused Black and Brown communities. Because only then can we address the root causes and the racist structures in our systems so we can co create a city and a neighborhood that we can all call home.